Now, what we've done down here, if you go down the box further, you can kind of see, I don't know if you can see in the camera there, but this is the cover for the lower sluice, okay? And then it dumps into a more conventional, open Hungarian type riffle. Okay, this next section of sluice box down here is primarily designed for gold and gem recovery. Even if you have any, like, you'll still capture some gold down here sometimes if it was tied up in like a conglomerate clays and the rocks and things like that. But this last 8-foot section is designed more for diamond and gem recovery. You'll notice it has a much taller, deeper riffle design than we have anywhere in the sluice box. That's basically to hold more material. And so this section here, if you are in good paid type diamond materials, you have to clean this up more frequently. In fact, since we're talking about that, you'll notice that we have the dredge set up with a separate suction nozzle device, okay? And then you have a short piece of hose, and you have a tub. And basically what you do is you suck the debris from the riffles, kind of like this here. Basically, every couple hours, you're going to take your suction nozzle, you're going to suck all the debris out of the riffle, okay? And you do that whole project while the dredge is running. So you can be running 10 hours straight, never shut the machine down, periodically clean the riffles out, and still maintain fantastic fine gold recovery. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about how the plumbing on the air compressor system works, okay? First of all, you've got a basic air compressor here, which sucks in clean air, and then it fills the air system. Now, how the system is plumbed, basically you have 2 air intakes right here, okay? These are clean air intakes. So what we do is we take these lines, we track them along the outside of the dredge, and we suck in our clean air from these 2 air intakes right here. So we suck just clean air in here. The clean air travels down through the yellow air lines and into the air compressor. Now, the nice thing about having the air intakes at a different location from the exhaust is somewhat obvious. You know, you're not going to be sucking in exhaust fumes. You're going to be getting clean air, no carbon monoxide. So it's always a good idea to have your air intakes remotely mounted. And this is really a very, very safe distance. Okay. Now, on the air compressor, so you have 2 intakes and you have 1 discharge line. You notice this line is a different color. It's a black. It's a high temperature hose. We call it a steam hose. So basically, the air compressor ties directly into the black hose, and then you tie into your reserve tank. You'll notice that we go through a small check valve here, that we don't have air back feeding into the tank. Now, this particular tank is a nice tank. It's a 9-gallon air tank. And the beauty of this, let's say if you're down, a couple guys down 20 feet deep, and this will vary with different people depending on the air consumption, but if your engine shuts off, you're going to have several minutes to gather your tools, gather your thoughts, get up to the water safely before you deplete the air in the tank. And that's the beauty of an air tank. And it also collects condensation. You won't be inhaling a bunch of water and other things. So it collects the moisture in the air, and it gives you that safety factor of a big reserve tank. Very important, especially if you have guys going deeper. The deeper you go, the larger the air system you should have. So it's a pretty simple system. And when the air comes into the tank, you come out, we come out to a gauge, and we have a couple quick release fittings, okay? And then you have your air hose and your regulator. So all we do, if you're going to use just 1 diver, you just simply come in and you tap the hose, and now you have 1 diver hooked up. When you hook another diver up, you can always snap another diver in. It's no problem to tap a 3rd diver in, especially when you have a big, hefty stainless steel tank like this. I'm going to talk about a few more troubleshooting issues. Typically in a dredge, there's going to be, everything's going to work fine most of the time, but there's always going to be issues of rod tunes, okay, or drops in power. You'll notice this is your suction tip, okay? This is a serious suction tip. This is your 8-inch suction. Put up so you can see a little bit. This is equipped with a suction braking flap. So see, this machine has serious power. If you were to get in front of this thing, odds are you wouldn't be able to get your hands out of it. It's extremely powerful. So what the diver does is he takes this, he moves this along the bottom. You notice that you have a swivel joint here. This allows you to manipulate the tip from left to right, back and forth, and so on. But what happens, sometimes you'll be sucking, you'll get a large rock, and this thing's going to go BAM! It's going to jerk back a couple inches, okay? and typically you don't have the strength to pull the rocks off the tip. So here you have what's called a suction braking flap. So what you do is you pull this flap back like this and expose this, for lack of better terminology, like a barbecue grill. This will allow the suction to be diverted back here, and then you can reach over and pull the rock off, and once you have the large rock off, you close that back up. Okay? So most of your rock jams are going to occur right on the intake. Now another common place for rock jams is you can get a jam in that 8-inch suction hose. Okay? Now fortunately, that hose is a translucent hose. You can see through it. You can't actually see any detail, but you can see dark shadows. So what you can do is you can swim along the 8-inch hose until you see a dark shadow, and you can sometimes punch it, or even what I carry is like a heavy rubber mallet, or a large, the big orange mallets that have the sand in it. A dead blow hammer is the term I'm looking for. And you can take that dead blow hammer, you can smack on the side of the hose. You have to be careful because you overdo it, you can break the ribs. But that's how we'll typically break loose a rock that's stuck in the side of the hose. And as the rocks travel up, occasionally you get them in, the rocks will get trapped in the power jet itself. Again, this is very infrequent because over the last, maybe 10 or 15 years, we've incorporated what's called an oversized power jet. In other words, since we're talking about an 8-inch dredge, the 8-inch suction hose has an ID of 8 inches. The 8-inch power jet, which goes over the 8-inch hose, has an ID of 8.5 inches. So there's no chance for a rock to be traveling, hit a lip, and twist. So you're constantly going into bigger and bigger zones. So it's very unlikely you get a power jet, but it does still happen occasionally. When you buy a dredge like this, it comes with a long, probably about a 10 or a 12 foot, like a 1-inch electrical conduit rod, and you use that, it's called a knockout rod, and you can take that, drive that down the power jet, and jar a rock loose. Okay? So typically the rocks will get stuck here if they're going to get stuck. If not, they get stuck into the suction hose. If not, they can also get stuck in the power jet itself. Once you have it all clear, if you still don't have your power, the next place I would go is check the foot valve. That's the part that sucks up the water for the pump, and see if that is clear of any debris or leaves or trash bags, anything that can plug it up.